Hello and welcome to the stream. Okay, I'm Barden and I'm going to be with you for the next 3 hours. And this is my first time doing a Twitch live stream. I have been making videos on YouTube for the past 5 years. Today we're going to be playing Cultist Simulator for the next probably, as I said, 3 to 3.5 hours. Yeah, so it might take me a bit of time to do the chat and stuff, but hopefully we're going to be okay. Now, so we're going to begin a new game here. So I played Cultist Simulator a bit before. I want to do Dancer, but I guess we can't do Dancer without having an end somewhere else. So we're just gonna have to do. Yeah, I'm gonna have to change then my stream title. I think. So my stream title says that I'm gonna do Dancer. Right. So, how do I change my lovely stream title? Would be the thing to do, I think. No, I don't see where to do it. Okay, so maybe I can figure it out later. Anyway, we're going to start out here. We have work, and we have our job: menial employment, a precarious position in a hospital as a hospital porter, miserable, but it's all you can find just now. So we are going to start that. Under a shift, mopping the darkened hallways, delivering post to hollow-eyed invalids, trudging corpse-laden gurneys to the basement. Okay, let's start that. Right, so from that then, we've got some funds, we've got some health. Halfway through your shift, the head porter beckons you aside. Won't require your services any longer, he says. Here's your last payment. We've paid you through the end of the month. I've lost my job. At least now I have a little time to rest. My health improves. Okay, so we collect that. So we lost our job. We have some funds, so we're going to set things up. So we're going to put our funds here. We're going to put our health here. Need to check that, yeah, we're not putting things in the way. Okay, seems good. Now, so we are going to see what this brings us first. See what the dream brings us. So we have 1 health. We've got 0 passion, 0 reason, and 2 funds. So all of these need to be improved a lot. So in this series, the stream series, we're going to just be playing through the game. I want to get to a dancer eventually. And then after that, then we'll see what other ones we play. So here we go. Recall my dreams. It began when I spoke to the old man in the hospital. He knew my name, but he's dead now. Pneumonia. Why do I dream of him still? What is the cobalt light in my dreams? Okay, so we grab those. So now we have our passion. So we're just missing our reason. Contentment. We'll keep that for if we get any dread. We've got that there. So yeah, give me a second because I want to see how I change the. I want to change the title because I don't want to be doing any false advertising for people. Edit stream info. Okay. There we go. Cultist Simulator New Start. It's better. And then yeah, as I said, eventually we will build up towards a dancer character. Right, so let's move these up here. We're gonna run things on now. Got a nice cup of tea with me. I always like to have a nice cup of tea for when I have to do a lot of reading. But generally what I do is, especially when I'm recording, I completely forget about it. And my episodes are generally 45 minutes to an hour. Some games will be shorter, some games may be longer, depending on how the episode is going. But generally what I'll do is I'll make myself a nice cup of tea, and I really enjoy drinking tea, but then I completely forget about it, and at the end of the particular episode I will end up then having to drink cold tea. Let me adjust my camera a little bit because my sitting position is a little further down. Yeah, when I'm at the keyboard. Okay, that's better. So over on YouTube you will find a number of playthroughs of Cultist Simulator that I've done. I'm not the most experienced with the game, but I have a number of different victories or endings in the game. I've got a lot of fails as well in the game, and I tried the Exile once and really couldn't figure out what was going on with that, so I'm kind of putting that on the long finger for that. I also have over there some, like, what I generally play is story-based games, kind of like this, or games that are turn-based tactics, so the likes of Battletech or Battle Brothers, or I play a lot of more times City of the Damned and Necromunda Underhive Wars. And then, as I said, the other side of things is I play a lot of story-heavy games. So whenever I find a game that has a combination of the two, or is really strong on one or the other, I want to play it. And this game is really strong on the story side of things, and I'm really happy that this was recommended to me. So it was recommended to me on the back of me playing Sunless Sea, and yeah, I played Sunless Sea for pretty much since my channel on YouTube's, well, not since my channel started, because I started making videos way back in 2007 or something. Whenever like YouTube came out first, I used to make videos on Final Fantasy 11, but it was just like gameplay from my link shell set to music, and then actual Let's Plays I started about 5 years ago. I think it was one of the first games I played. So we got bequest. A bequest arrives. The old man has bequeathed me a sum of money and a packet of peculiar papers, poetry, riddles, metaphysical speculations for the first time in months. Here is some fuel for my reason. So then we have our reason. So then we have one of each of the basic stats here. So we're gonna where can we use that in? Generally it'll tell you. Let's see. So we can't use them there. It's probably study, right? Yeah. So put that in there. Unlock books and other treasures. Approach. Oh, so we can use passion or reason. Let's see. So we are looking to get to the point where we can do dancers. So I think let's use passion, because they're more passionate dancers than reasonable ones, I think. Or reasoned, not reasonable, reasoned ones. Examine my bequest implying passion. I'll read, theorize, pace, sketch, clutch at my hair and wonder, rise in elation, collapse in despair. Yep, sounds about right. So we do that, put things on. We're also going to work with health. Backbreaking work for meager pay. Is this the best I can do? For now it is, yeah. So we want to keep some money coming in. Now our aim before we really get started on, our cult or anything like that, is to increase these stats down here. So we want to get more health, more passion, and more reason. And we can see now that the timer started here. So time passes. Time the sundial's shadow passes. I must have funds to live or I will become ill. Okay, and then aspect, ingredient, fuel, ointment, pigment, patience, all are consumed in time. So we need to keep fueling that with funds, which means that we need to get some kind of job. And what we're looking for really is to get a more steady job than what we have at the moment. My correspondent describes my dreams exactly. They use names that instantly familiar. The house, the wood, the hours, the glory. I sense here a power that generals and kings would envy. A new desire burns in me. There is a note here. Directions to a bookshop that does not advertise its wares. So that's Moreland's. We take those. Right, so let's have a look at what we got. So, notes on a possible collaborator. My correspondent has recorded his observations of me. He believed I had potential. He recorded his observations of someone else too. With time and study, perhaps I can find that person. Okay, so we'll pop that there for now. So then we got our first secret. So we got a Smith secret. For this run, I think I'm going to put my lore over this side of the table, because I'm kind of cognizant that I'm playing with a webcam, which I don't normally do. So I need to make sure that I'm not blocking stuff. Temptation power. It has occurred to me that I hold the key to power. This card will allow you to win a power victory if you upgrade it far enough. Dreaming about it might advance or change it. Okay, that's interesting because I've never done a power victory. So I'm going to pop that below reason. And then here we have directions to Moreland's. Cryptic directions to obscure address of a certain Moreland, a dealer in the rare sort of books. Okay, so we have that too. Right. So we are going to study that. And that will give us Moreland's will be available, and we get to buy books there. But we will need to have a steady income for that to make any sense. So we don't have a job yet. We need to find a job, and then we're going to be able to get books. But the main thing that we need to work on for now is getting our basic stats up. So we need to increase our hearts, we need to increase our passion, we need to increase our reason, and be ready for when we begin our cult. The direction to Moreland's shop are cryptic. When one deals in the kind of books my correspondent studied, one must be circumspect. Okay, so let's run that on. So far we just got one secret, a Smith secret. In 5 continents, Smiths have whispered the same words to the iron. Murderers have been known to whisper these words too, and adepts, of course. These words are spoken in ritual to inspire an unmerciful change. Okay, so we've done Forge before. We've done a Forge cult previously, and we've gotten a victory out of it as well. And I actually did a Forge's Redemption as well. I did a video on it because I couldn't find anywhere on the web how to actually do it to turn your decrepitude back into health. So once I figured out how to do it, and I figured out how to do it with help from some of my subscribers on YouTube, but once I did that, I put a video up on my channel as well to help others. But I think if I had to do it again, I'd probably have to go watch my video to be able to figure out how I did it. Right, find Moreland's shop, an endless street at an ill-favoured bend in a lesser river. A soft yellow light through a grimy window. Miss Moreland nods as I enter, but doesn't rise. I never ask the names of my clients, she informs me, before I have time to introduce myself. Okay, so now we have Moreland's shop. So that's going to be, at least initially in the game, is going to be one of the major sources of lore that we have. So we're going to pop, where are we going to put our locations this time? I think we're going to put them there. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to pop you down there for now. So we'll keep our locations here. So that means you actually have to go there. And we'll do kind of the regular ones here. Then the tiered ones will go down this way, I think. Okay. Now we've got explore as well. Now that I've found a location, I can explore it. And a cult scrap. Okay. So the cult scraps we can get them from lore, but we also get them in the mantis. Now we don't have, hang on, we might actually, this might give us access to the mantis, but we don't really need to go in there just yet. But we've got that now, so let's pop that up there. So these ones, cult scrap, secret histories are layered beneath the one we know, like the notes in rare wine. This is a detail for from one of those histories. Okay, And so we explore with that, and it will give us a location that we can then do expeditions to, but we need to have a cult in order to do those expeditions. But so far, things are going okay. I'm gonna run time on again. We still need to find ourselves a job though. We probably, with passion and reason, we can find, and actually wait, let's grab those. So we have some vitality there. Our health is fatigued for another minute, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for that to come back, and then I'm going to study. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to study passion, which will give us a glimmering. If I propose to learn anything, I wouldn't be reading this stuff. So that will give us a glimmering. Once that's done, we'll put in a health, which is give us another vitality. We can then combine the two vitalities together as another health. Then we can go back to studying passion and do the same with that. And then as we progress, it gets more difficult to increase, because you need more, either need more of the vitality or glimmerings, or you need a higher level of them, which requires you to combine them together. Okay, so we're going to work with our reason. Find work which will spare my body, if not my mind. So let's start that. I love these little tableaus that come up at the back as well. They're so good. And then the sound that goes with it as well. It's really, really well designed. Glover and Glover have offered me a junior position. I start at 8 sharp tomorrow morning. Okay. So this is not, it's not the worst job. It's a nice kind of steady job to do. And it will get us, it'll get us where we want to go. So we're gonna pop that in. The scratching of pens, the sourness of dust, the sighing of the younger Glover, the greedy gurgling of the elder. We start that. Then needs our diligence, which is our reason, so we'll pop that in there. And we run those on. Okay, so far is pretty standard start. I never really make a choice when I start on what cult I'm going to do. I kind of leave it and see where we're at when we get to the point that it kind of makes sense to start the cult. So do all our prep first, and during that prep try and grab as much lore as we can on the way. Old and happy far off things. Mott finds a light in the dark, and so do I. Okay, and then I pass the time. I've been inclined to tears, and afterwards inclined to laughter. Meanwhile, the world continues. Grab that. We now have a glimmering, so let's pop the glimmering there. Set the passion. Now, slot the health there. Start that. Now, once we have our second health, we're going to explore with health here, which will allow us to. It's going to allow us to find certain things. So we might find, let's say, the auction house or the Thesis Club, or we might find other places as well with it. So pop you there. So this is looking for despair. Dark days. I must be careful not to let doubts creep in. So at this point in time, despair is a real threat to us, because we've only got one way to generate contentment consistently, and that is to dream. So spend some funds, get some opium, and then dream, which will give us, generally will give us a contentment. We got some restlessness, so that restlessness will degrade into despair after, what is it, a minute, right? Yeah, after a minute. So a restless longing has me. I feel that I want to do something. What exactly? So that is related to things like this, or temptation. So when we're not actually following that regularly, the restlessness will appear, and it can build up pretty quickly, and you can end up being defeated by despair. If this gets to 3 despair, and you don't have a contentment to slot in to stop it, then it will, like, there will be a red timer that goes around, and once the red timer finishes, then your run is over. But at the moment we're okay. We are going to, oh no, I forgot we don't have a talk verb yet. Talk verb was always the one that I never remember how to get. Because it's, the talk verb is kind of weird, like you get it every run, but you start runs so rarely. At least for me, I start runs pretty rarely. It means that I don't do it as often as I do a lot of other things in the game, so I tend not to remember. Mr. Alden, the supervisor of records, has called me into his office to recognize my diligence. I watch the mole on his neck as he talks and talks and talks, but at the end of it, I have a promotion. My new position is better paid, and a desk stands by the street window. But I work directly for Mr. Alden now. Mr. Alden is known to be exacting. Okay, so we got 1 point out of that. We're now going to go back to work. Okay, I'm better paid than I was, but Mr. Alden has taken an interest in me. Mr. Alden is very particular. Mr. Alden likes things done just so, and Mr. Alden has never believed that I am qualified for this position. So he's kind of out to get me, so I can't make any mistakes with that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly check that. Yeah, let me check how we get the talk verb. Where we don't see it there. Okay. Okay. Now I know how to do it. Right. Good. Let's keep going. So we're working on getting extra health, which will then allow us to do more exploring. And the next time that the hook comes up, we can hopefully get ourselves to talk verb then. Right, so there's our vitality, then combine the 2 vitality. So as I said, each time we move up a level with a particular stat, it's going to cost more. So the next one will be 3 vitality. Then the one after that, I believe, is the lesson learned, which is basically 4 vitality, but it takes longer because you got to get 2 vitality and combine them to make that. I'm Abram. Oh, I'm a Brim. Abram. I'm a Brim with vitality. If I devote some time to exercise, I'll benefit. So do that. That will give us our next health. Okay, don't need to worry about you. Don't think you need anything started just yet, no. But he will ask for either passion or reason at some point. The wolf despair prowls elsewhere. No dread empowers this despair. It's over for now. It's good. Let's pop that up there. Okay. Now I'm going to have a sip of my tea because, as I said, I generally forget to drink it. Okay, now next thing, moorlands we can't go to yet. Generally with my funds, I like my funds to be up to about 20 or so before I go to Moorlands, because I know that Moorlands, I like to exhaust the books fairly rapidly, so every time it's available to go there, I go there, and I want to have the funds to be able to do that. And we've got a nice buffer here money wise, but that can go very quickly. And also we don't have any buffer here on any of these other ones, so again, got to be careful. So there's the dread there. So the dread hadn't appeared, or if the dread had appeared a little while earlier, it would have been sucked into the one that was looking for it, and then we would have had to slot a contentment to reduce it and get rid of it. I do not believe that you have properly understood the importance of our work here. This task will require your full attention. Okay, so that means he's going to need my reason, right? Yeah. Let's slot a reason there. I'll run that on. So the problem I'm going to have is I've started work here, but I need to make a new reason, and to make a new reason I'm going to need to study that reason in here, which will lock it out from us being able to use it for work. So I'm going to probably end up being promoted and then demoted in order to achieve that. I've grown stronger. I've gained health, but it's more difficult to gain health next time. Okay. So now we have this skill here. So we actually have to move all of these guys over one. Oh, I should have. Drag by the number is how you drag. Yeah, someone gave me that very good tip when I was playing on YouTube, because I had like a stack of something like 100 funds or something, but the game had split them where there was like 30 in one and 70 odd in the other, and I was moving them individually to try and restack them into one. And then someone gave me the tips that you could drag them by the number, you can drag the whole stack, which is great. Right, but let's have a look at this. Skill, a stronger physique. I would benefit from exercise. Okay, and use this with 2 lesson learned to gain more health. So lesson learned is that glimmering is going to go. So it takes 60 seconds to study your passion to get a glimmering. So that will go before we're able to generate another one. So, but that's okay, because we can fairly quickly enough, generate some extra glimmerings anyway. On this occasion, I've determined that your work is of an acceptable standard. You may go. Be punctual tomorrow, please. Okay, so I'll go back to work again. So yeah, he's going to tie down my reason, but at the moment we're focusing on our passion anyway, so that's not a big issue for us. Okay, now this one is similar to the one that takes a dread, except it takes fascination, and dread will actually cancel out fascination. So, and we don't generate as much fascination, especially at this stage of the game, and not like from what we're doing, as we do dread. So it's not as big of an issue if we get one of those there, because generally we will generate another dread anyway. Okay, so that glimmering is gone, but we're about to get a new one anyway. Okay, so we grab that and then we pop that over there. Here. Oh, I always move that instead of that one. Right, there we go. And then let's start that. Okay, that's good. Right, so run things on. Okay, so he's going to need reason again, right? Yeah, full attention again. Pop that in there. Okay, so this year can be bad. I've become unwell. So what's going to happen is my health here is going to change. And unless we deal with it quickly, it's going to get to the point where we've got to do an elaborate ritual to actually restore to health. So we've got to keep an eye on that. But luckily we're not using our dreaming, so we can do it pretty easily. The world is as it is. Mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I am sane, if that means anything. So let's click that. And we can slot that up there and run things on. Okay, got some more restless there. Work is done today, we reslot it and get that going. So we're getting into a little bit of a rhythm for doing stuff. So that cult scrap, we're going to get lots of them anyway, so I think I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to search that now. There are places in the city where I can find extraordinary things if I can sift the clues out of history and rumor. Let's see that. That will give us one of the lowest levels of places that we can send our cult to on expeditions. I've passed the time, I've been inclined to tears, and afterwards inclined to laughter. Meanwhile, the world continues. So now we have 2 glimmerings. So again, we'll combine those, we'll get a new passion, and we'll get a skill that we need to level up in order to gain more passion in the future. So every level is more difficult to obtain. And then also each character that you play will have different limits on like health and passion and reason that you can get through this method. There are other ways to convert from, like if you got say a lot of health, you might be able to convert some of it into passion if you need to, or you know, or any kind of combination to get what you kind of want for your particular run. Right, so we've got a sickness. This illness has damaged my health. I need to rest before I am fully recovered. Cure your affliction with funds of vitality. So to cure this, we pop it here, and then we're going to use funds. So we could use, if we had an extra vitality, we could slot that. Sometimes you get an extra vitality maybe randomly from an event, or you can get it from, also in the Mantis you can get it. You can get it where something if the Mantis might actually degrade into a vitality as well. You can get it by studying a health and just keeping it for when you need it, but that's not a great kind of use of your time, especially later on where you maybe like your study verb, you've got a lot of things queued up to be using that anyway. But we're going to do it this way. We're going to pay for the treatment. Okay, so we've got some dread there. He needs a reason again, so we'll stop that. There's a restlessness there, so potentially 2 dread on the table. Right, so There are more windows in my soul, but sunlight is not the only thing that passes through a window. So we've got skill, a vivid imagination. So like the one for our health, we use that with lessons learned to increase our passion further. This place merits closer investigation, so it's Strathcoin's residence. The house of Mr. Strathcoin, a collector of rare objects. Strathcoin will not sell his treasures, but a sufficiently cunning accomplice might gain entry. Okay, so we've got that. So it's going to go there as the next level of places to explore. And on. Right, so now let's grab you from there. Oh no, we're not gonna go back to work yet. Oh, we can't. There we go. That's taking a temptation. So we're gonna get our top verb now. Let's pop that in here. Or we should get, I believe we should get our top verb now. Let's pop you in there. Start that. We'll start our reason when we have the chance. Study wise, let's go for the next health, because you get enough. I think we get enough instant vitality to be able to do that pretty quickly. Got a fleeting memory. Okay, so here now we got some restlessness there. Oh yeah, we should have slotted my reason in there, but I forgot. That's okay, because I'm pretty sure that is how we get to it. Okay, so we need to generate another reason to be able to put in there, because otherwise we're kind of going to sneak ourselves, so we have to be very careful with that. So again, going to generate dread here. But what we can do is, and what we probably should have been doing is, now we've got 2 health, we should be searching the city, because that will allow us to find the Thesis Club, and that will then in turn allow us to generate, it will allow us to generate contentment a lot easier than we can at the moment. Let's start you, yeah, actually let's put you there, because when it's not fully ready, we need 2 slots. Yeah, so we're really queuing up the dread now, aren't we? So I generally don't want these guys. You can get them if you want. You're basically getting them for a specific purpose, but we don't really have a purpose for them. We don't have anybody who's chasing us down at the minute, and we don't have any rituals that we can do to use them in, or anything like that. So right now it's kind of pointless to do that. But once we're done there, we can search again and maybe find somewhere else. Right, so now this is interesting, because we're probably going to get our rival, which generally is, to start off, is the detective. The city is rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long will they leave me in peace? At the minute we don't have any mystique or anything for them to find, but they still can appear without that. So right now nothing, so there was nothing of interest for them to latch onto. Okay, and then we have our vitality there, which is good. Right, so we have 116 seconds left in that, which means we can study one more of these. Then we're done that, we combine those two. Then we study for the final vitality, and then use the skill then to combine the two lessons learned together, and that will give us an extra health. Okay, so that's fatigued. Gonna wait for that to come back, and then we're gonna go searching again. Okay, that's ready for that. Now you can see that in terms of funds, it's saying that we have 13 here, but we don't really, because one is always slotted in here. And I think it's actually counting the two that we're going to get paid, which we haven't actually been paid yet. But yeah, to start, it's kind of difficult to increase your funds. This job isn't the worst though. There are other jobs that you really struggle with where you're not going to get any kind of raise out of. But soon enough we're going to have to take a hit to our funds in order to take the time to increase our reason. So collect those, and then these two vitality, do that and sort them out together. Then this health we can pop in here and search again. Okay, I found somewhere unusual. Streets by strange moonlight. Now, searching with this can sometimes lead to something decent, but let's see. Oh, hang on. Streets are strange and the hour is called Menascate. Yeah, so we'll have a look at there and see what actually comes of that. So we've kind of got a nice little plan going here. We may actually get a rival. It's only a matter of time now before they turn up, really. Once they start going. Visions pass me with pavane grace. A window over wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a woman of glass. I will return home with reluctance. Okay, so we got the subtle fracture. Pop that up there. We don't really need that at the moment. So subtle fracture is clouds part, walls creak, old wounds ache. A sixth order influence, significant resonances or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Yeah, so we wanted, if we were looking to summon a certain minion that needed knock lore, then that would be pretty good for us. We're gonna keep searching with this. So we're about to get our vitality lesson learned there. Once we've done that, once we've gotten to the point where we have our third health, what we will do is we will then work on increasing our reason, because that's gonna be very important, because we're gonna have to sacrifice a reason to get our talk verb, I believe. So there's some contentment. Got another subtle fracture there. We'll keep going with that. Sometimes this can backfire, because you can end up with, I believe you can end up with fascination from going through this one as well. But let's keep going with that. Now, we don't really need to do it, but I want to do it because contentment doesn't hang around very long, and we have this dread here, which, if it gets picked up, it could actually, given how long it takes to do all the searches, could actually end up with it missing the contentment. So I'm going to dream these two together, and this is one way to get rid of dread. The other way is you can use dread as well to cancel out fascination. So you can do the same there, dream the two together, but in that scenario you have to dream the fascination first and then use the dread. So using the dread to get rid of the fascination, and then if it's already been captured, you can generate contentment, which will then be captured to reduce the level of it until it's all gone. I remember that I was different before. Well, let's hope it's going to be different again soon. Run that on. Okay, work is done. Slot that again. Probably going to work. Hang on, we're going to get another vitality. Put those two together, then use the thing and do those. So that's another what? Probably about another 2.5 minutes or so to do all that. Okay, now if I have a particular friend, now's the time to renew connection. So we don't have that. I think we did that in one of the very earliest runs that I did of the game. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. Let's pop you up there. Don't always end up with more contentment than dread being generated, but it's only kind of in a short period there. So we're lucky we got a glimmering there as well. Visions pass me with pavane grace, a window over a wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a wall of glass. I return home with reluctance. Okay. So we'll search that again. So now we have a glimmering there, which is going to hang around for another 3 minutes, but by the time we do all of this, it's probably going to be gone. It's going to be kind of touch and go whether or not we can actually use it, but I don't think we're going to be able to use it to start on the road for a new passion, because we'd have to generate another glimmering in that time as well. So I don't think there is actually enough time to do all of that, and I don't want to abandon, like, we're so far down the vitality road now that it wouldn't make sense to abandon this in favor of using a glimmering that we weren't planning on having anyway. So sometimes you can get lucky with the opportune ones. You know, you might get a vitality just as you get an affliction, and you can just use it then, or you might get glimmering as you're actually working towards an extra passion. And in those instances, it makes a lot of sense to just kind of thank your lucky stars and use it. But other times, you kind of have to be a little bit circumspect, I guess. You have to kind of know when to say, it's nice we got that glimmering, but I'm not going to give up progress on something else to make use of it. And we will get other glimmerings in the future anyway, and we'll end up at the point where we've got all of our stats at the maximum that we can, and we'll be getting others anyway, so it's not that important to do at the moment. The sun still moves, the wind still walks. My journals are labyrinth clue. Okay, let's collect that. So fleeting reminiscence you can also use for fascination to deal with that. We got another glimmering there, so now we have two. There is actually a chance to combine it once we're done with the others. So then we may actually decide then that it does actually make sense to go for that extra passion, because we're generating the glimmerings now to be able to do that. But still, health is the priority right now. It's probably there. So we're going to get another restlessness from that. There's a fascination that I was talking about that we could get from there. Fascination. Light leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. Okay. Collect those. again, start it up. So now we're going to be able to dream the fascination with the dread that will generate. We now have the vitality lesson learned, so if we slot these to that, we can then get I will grow stronger still. So we're going to get a third health out of that. That's pretty okay. Right. Oh, we got you here as well. Okay, so we got some contentment. We would generally use the contentment with the dread that will come from there, but we don't need to do that right now because we can do it with the fascination instead and kind of get rid of two negatives at the same time. Although fascination isn't always a negative, like a lot of the cards that you get in the game that are generally negatives can be used at some point in some kind of positive way because you need it for a certain ending, or you need it to get a certain other card, or you need it for summons, or anything like that. But let's keep going with that. Let's pop you over there. This glimmering will be still around by the time that's done, which is good, so it means that we can combine those two. I'm safe for now. The meddler's attention must be elsewhere. A relief. Certainly is for now, because it can be a little bit scary when they start building things up. So let's pop this in here. The doors of vision swing wide. A little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. So slap that there and let that run on. Okay, and then you need reason, so we'll do that. There's our extra health now. So now we combine these two. And sometimes with those as well, you might combine them not because you want to increase a certain skill, but just because maybe you don't have anything particularly that you need to study at the time, and you can use both anyway, but by combining them you can at least extend the life of one of them, because they will become a lesson learned, and then the lesson learned will take time to degenerate back into a glimmering, and then the glimmering itself then will take, was it like 3 minutes to degenerate completely. Here's another contentment for us. I keep exploring with you. Oops. Okay. And it's on. Okay, work is done. But in this game, work is never done. You're always in a constant cycle of work. So you can see our funds here are kind of just very slowly creeping up. That's looking for dread. We don't have any dread for it, which is good. Okay, we've seen that before, so let's pop you in there. Start off. So perhaps you can go up there because we no use for it at the minute. So now the plan is to get to 3 passion and then start on getting our extra reason. Then once you have the extra reason, then we can kind of go about some of the basic business of preparing for the cult itself. So at the moment we're just preparing for our run in terms of preparing our character. So, well, it's the way I look at it at least. Down here are the stats related to your character, and then kind of over here with the lore and stuff, and the people that we are going to find eventually are the stats related to your cult. At least that's the way I kind of see it. Others might see it differently, but hey ho. Okay, so we've got lesson learned there. We're now going to study passion for an extra glimmering, and if we get lucky we're going to get an extra glimmering here as well. So we got fascination instead. Okay. So this is one of the rare times when, especially at this level, where fascination can actually become an issue. But we can actually get rid of it. But if we didn't have this here, the fleeting memory, it might be a little more difficult to deal with that, because any despair would be captured by this, which means that we wouldn't have that to get rid of fascination. And then if there's a hunter for the fascination, it can go in there. And although fascination doesn't come off all that often, you could get a rare kind of occasion where you've got, maybe you have two sitting there that get captured, and then you generate a third one, and you then got to scramble to try and counteract that. But we can very easily counteract this one. Okay, keep going with that. Okay, so we're going to get another affliction here. So we're going to have to, we'll probably just pay for it, because we don't need to generate vitality to take care of it, and we're not hurting too much for funds, so it doesn't really make sense to use something else for it. Health really is kind of, it's one of those stats where you don't use it all that often in the game, but when you need it, you really need it. So you kind of, even though it's not as versatile as the likes of passion or reason are, it's still very important. And sometimes you can kind of forget that and maybe not pay as much attention to it as other things. And if you neglect the affliction, let's say the affliction there, and it then becomes a decrepitude, it can be very difficult then to actually reverse that, because you've got to do, as I said, Forge's Redemption to sort it out, and that is, it's a rite that takes a while to get to anyway, and then there are other things that you need to do to actually perform the rite itself. The air is curdled now. I'm home again, in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. Okay, and then we got another glimmering there, which is great. But actually, we are certainly our passion, so one of those glimmerings is not actually going to be used. Because we're going to generate a glimmering here. Actually, the glimmering we generate here isn't going to be used, because these two are going to be older, so it makes sense to use that one instead. So there we go, we have that. We're now going to take care of it immediately, because, as I said, it's bad news if we don't. Right, so that will be another restlessness, which will obviously degrade into a dread for us. We've got contentment there that we can use for it. The Forge of Days waits in my dreams. Have I learned of Forge's lore, and I dream of this temptation, I can advance my purpose. The need gnaws at me. It may gnaw at me, but I can still ignore it. Its teeth aren't that sharp at the minute. Yeah, so we dream these two together. And for now, that glimmering probably goes to waste. because I can't see us going for a fourth passion, because that's a lot of sidetracking away from where we want to be with our reason. So I think 3 health, 3 passion, then get into our reason and start getting that up. Once you get to 3 reason, then use 1 to get our talk verb, and then a lot of things are going to open up to us then. Let's search to as well. Okay, we got a health back, thank you. Okay, so the rest is there, or the dread, sorry, which will be, you're the one that looks for fascination, right? Yeah. So it may or may not be captured. It's got 3 minutes left. Okay, so we have a lesson learned there. So then we slot these 3. And then we got another glimmering there. Slot you again. Was that found nothing? That found a dread though, so we're going to have to generate some contentment. The mirrors are calm, the sun is steady, the glory recedes. I'm sane, if that means anything. So we can slot you there. And there's the contentment that we need for that. So we can just pop the contentment up there, and it will be auto captured by that when it moves on to the next phase. It's just strange, the arrow is called Menascate. Move on. I not believe that you have properly understood the importance of our work. This task will require your full attention. Okay. So, if we put our passion in, we can get promoted. So we might actually do that. No, because I don't want to do that until we have more reason. Because when we do that, it gets to the point where when you start working, you've got to slot your reason at the same time. And we don't want to be doing that just yet. Right, so we got you, we got our extra passion. Yeah, we may as well at least study those 2 together, because our reason at the moment is tied up. So we may keep those aside for another time. Now there's some fascination. Start you there, pop you there, start again. Okay, so yeah, those are going to cancel out. The fascination may be captured, but generally we get dread pretty often, so I don't think that's going to be an issue really. Just 1 fascination on its own. I've been playing as well recently the Shredded Isle, which is another kind of card type game, as you call it, which I've been really enjoying. I did a number of playthroughs, and each time obviously learned a little bit more about the game. It's not as in-depth as this game, but it's still, you know, writing is pretty good, and there's enough variety to kind of keep you going for a while at it. I played through I think it's going to be up for like the next month or so on my channel until we kind of reach the end of the series. And I played until I got one ending because I didn't want to unlock all the others, and I may come back to it again in the future, but it was a lot of fun to play. Now we're going to explore you again. But I said this game is a little more in-depth, a little more complicated, and there are a lot more kind of variations you can have, and a lot more endings as well. And something I've talked about before as well about this game is something that I like is that it's the way the wiki is done is that it only gives certain information. It's not a how-to guide, and I like that because I don't like to know exactly what I need to do for certain things. I don't mind if somebody is kind of watching my videos and I ask them, oh, how do I do this particular rite or whatever. That's okay, but I don't like a kind of a this is how you get this particular ending, step one, blah 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 blah, all the way through. It's not kind of I kind of like to just discover and stumble across things, and then have people give me little bits of crumbs of what I might do, rather than it being, as I said, kind of a more prescriptive thing. Yeah, I'm actually going to go for it. I'm going to go for more glimmerings. I'm going to go for that fourth passion. I know I shouldn't be. I should be focusing on my reason, but I'm going to let my reason do its thing. I just have some dread there, but that's okay because that one's going to go. Then the next dread we get will have to cancel that out. Dwarf Despair prowls elsewhere. Okay, grab you, pop you in there, and then we slot our reason there because we now know that we are actually going for passion stuff, so it means that we don't need to keep you aside yet. Oh hey, the Super Gins. Yeah, I love this game too. Been played it through a lot on my channel, where like currently I'm playing the priest on my channel, so I started a new save for this. I wanted to do the dancer, but in order to get, I couldn't figure out how to get it where I could just start again with all of my legacies. So instead I had to wipe it and start again, but then I've got that saved as a backup so I can go back to that for my regular recorded stuff. But yeah, I love the writing in this game, and the reason I actually discovered it is because someone who was watching my Sunless Sea playthrough, and I was talking about how I've been playing this game for years and years and I'm looking for something similar, and I was thinking of maybe giving Sunless Skies a go, and they said that Sunless Skies actually has a different writer to the original writers in Sunless Sea, so it's not the writing is not up to the same quality, and then they recommended actually checking this game out, and I'm really glad that they did because I've been loving playing this game. Still got a lot to learn in it, and certain things that I've learned before maybe I forget as well, but that's kind of, it's one of the things that I like about a game like this, is that I like not knowing everything. I'm not a person who kind of plays by the numbers, who wants to be optimal every one. I like kind of making mistakes or stumbling into things, or that kind of thing, where something is a little more organic. Okay, so we're gonna study those two together, and that will give us an extra glimmering lesson learned. Then we need one more to get, we need one more to combine with that to get our extra passion. We get a fourth passion then, and then we do have to get going with the reason. We'll pop you up there for now. We'll pop you back in there. These fractures we don't need to worry about at the minute. They're for summons and things like that, and we're not at the stage where we're going to be doing anything like that. The only one that I haven't liked, I haven't tried all of the characters in this. I've done the Doctor. I got an ending with the Doctor. I said I'm playing through the Priest. I tried, who else did I try? I tried the, what's the one where you get like an inheritance? I tried them, but I'd like to go back with them because I didn't actually get an ending with them. But the one I didn't like was the Exile, where when I did the Exile, just the whole kind of the premise, or not really the premise, but the mechanics that I'd learned up to that point were useless in the Exile, because the Exile uses different cards. It's kind of in the same style, but it's more kind of get things done before you have to move on somewhere else. Yeah, the Exile is one of the new DLC ones. So with the Exile, instead of like starting here with all of these verbs, what you have is you start in a location, and you have like decades and years, which are kind of like your passion and your health, but they're limited and you can't generate new ones. So you kind of got a limited time to, and then the people who are looking for you, it's not the detective anymore. It's like some, I can't remember the name, but some organization that are coming, and when they arrive in the city, then whatever you do gives them more power, and they kind of build up the power, and then they're able to inflict wounds upon you, and then you get so many wounds, then you die. And it doesn't have, like, I play this game because I want to kind of immerse myself in the lore, read the cards. I don't mind reading, like when I go to the Mansions, I don't mind reading the same thing, over and over, because it's so well written. And I like to kind of have that relaxed thing. Even though we got all these timers ticking down, it's only at certain points where the tension comes in, where you think, oh shit, I've got 3 dread. Can I generate like 1 contentment to control that for now and try and figure out some way out of this, or not? Or when they've got the damning evidence, can you somehow scramble and either get one of your cult to get rid of it, or can you get that favor from authority to be able to get? And I like that. I like where that kind of goes, where you're going along and then you have these kind of spikes of tension. But the Exile was more, it just had that tension all the time, and then when it's ever present, it's not as good, because you're just thinking, why am I bothering? Like it's kind of all the tension and none of the enjoyment is how I felt. Now it may be that in the future I go back to have a go at the Exile and maybe look at it with fresh eyes, but for the moment, yeah, I'm kind of going to avoid it, and I'm going to, as I said, for this particular run, I'm going to try to get to the point where we can actually try the Dancer out, and maybe some of the other, I can't remember, there is another DLC one. There's Priest, the Exile, the Dancer, and I think there's one more. But yeah, those are the ones that I'm interested in, as opposed to, as I said, yeah, Exile at the moment just doesn't hold my interest. But yeah, I've been. Oh, you haven't got the DLC yet? Oh well, I definitely recommend it, because I found as well I've been playing through the Priest on my YouTube channel, and I found that to be pretty Like it adds an extra kind of layer where you have to give sermons in order, and that's kind of your mechanism for that's your mechanism for leveling up your people in your cult. So moving them from like an acquaintance to actually a member of the cult, and then getting you all the way up to exalted. We got probably one more time with that, I think. But yeah, it's kind of, but it doesn't, like the way I've been doing that is I went about getting all of my people first before I started that, because I had a run before that with the priest where I decided to just play around with, because it was my first time. So I like to do that and try and find out what kind of things I need to pay attention to or to worry about. And what I found was that when you get to the point where you're preaching and you are generating, what is it called? Like there's I can't remember, but there's a certain thing that you need to generate, which will help you, which is what you need to promote people within the cult. But when you do that, every time you do that, you get notoriety as well. So it's generating just tons of notoriety at a point where I didn't have the mechanisms, like I didn't have the people within my cult at a high enough level to actually get rid of it. So very quickly I fell to the detective, because it was pretty easy for them. Oh, we get actually one more. You said that's great. So pretty quickly the detective was able to just get the evidence that they needed. Got damning evidence. There was nothing I could do about it, because I hadn't even progressed that far in the Mantis to be able to even go for kind of the Hail Mary of grabbing a favour from authority or anything like that. But yeah, then the second time I kind of knew, the second run I know what's going on with it a bit more. So I decided that, well, what I'll do is I'll do all my prep first, and then I'll get into doing the preaching instead. Yeah, that kind of happens with games as well. I do that too, where I like now that, not so much now that I record for YouTube. Kind of back in the day, a lot, where I would get a game and I'd just play the hell out of it for like the first maybe like week that I have it. That might be all that I play, and then after that week, then I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I want to try something else, and then I might give it a break and then come back to it. But now that I record, it doesn't happen as much, but it can happen sometimes where I will maybe do a long session on a game and record it ahead, because I'm just really feeling that game at that time. And even though I know I've got other games that I need to record, but that's the kind of game that I want to play. But then the good thing is, because I do have other games to record, that when that happens, I can just kind of go, let's take a break from that for maybe a week or two, and then come back to it later. And when I feel like, for me at least, when I come back and kind of a bit refreshed and I'm ready to play it again, and it's more enjoyable. One thing I really don't like, and it thankfully hasn't happened to me that much, is when I've got a series and I'm kind of over the game. I'm kind of, in terms of my enjoyment of the game, I'm going to finish with it, but I've still got to finish it out. But most of the games I've played, I've enjoyed right up until the end, which is good. So let me ask you a question. How did you come across this game? Was it through other similar games, or was you just kind of stumbled across it? Or how did you find Cultist Simulator in the first place? The air is curled now. I'm home again in this lump and flesh. Better, perhaps. Well, we're better for now, at least. Right, so we should actually be searching for the help now, because we still have the club to find, and we've got the auction house as well. So we've got those three there. Oh, Fallen London. So Fallen London is like the MMO version of Sunless Sea, right? I've never played that before, but mainly because just the MMO element of it doesn't appeal to me, and it's kind of a thing of, if I'd never played an MMO before and thinking, oh wow, there's an MMO for Sunless Sea, which means like it's a never-ending game of Sunless Sea, I'd probably go, wow, that's for me, I want to play that. But I played Final Fantasy 11 for more than a decade, and it just kind of consumes your life, because you've got to keep playing it to maintain your progress, because all the new content coming out, you've got to keep up with it. Yeah, the setting is really good. I love the setting myself. It's just so atmospheric and so very well written, and there's kind of, I always felt sad in it though, when, like say with the sisters, when you get to a point where you've exhausted their storyline and you don't see them again. So that's one where, yeah, we don't need a shifty woman, thanks. But if someone hadn't said to me that you're so close to getting it was actually the Carnelian Exile ending. So they said to me, oh, you've got most of the stuff that you need for the Carnelian Exile ending. You should actually go for that, because I was thinking, how am I going to end the series, because I played it for so long, and then they mentioned that, and then I worked towards that. Oh, you never played any of the online FFs? Actually, Final Fantasy 11 was my first Final Fantasy, because I never had, like, I had consoles growing up, but they were more like the old Atari. We had a Master System, but never any of the ones that had the Final Fantasy titles on. So how I actually came across Final Fantasy was they made a movie. I think they made two movies, but they made one movie where they actually created a computer generated actress who was supposed to be like a star, who was going to be in lots of movies in the future, but only ended up being in that one. But I liked the idea and the concept of it. And then what was it? Yeah, we'd watched it, and then my birthday is around Christmas time. It's like Christmas Eve, and my younger brother bought me the game for like a combined Christmas birthday present, because we'd watched the movie recently and I'd really enjoyed it, and he thought, oh, that's something good to get him. But he didn't realize that it was online. So I had it, and then I didn't play it for a few months, because when I loaded it up, I realized, oh, this is online. Like, what? I've never played online games at that stage. But then after a few months, I went back to it and started playing it, and just met so many great people on it and got sucked into it for 10 years. Oh, you grew up with most of the consoles. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I kind of grew up before, like, the main console era. Like, there was the likes of Atari and stuff had consoles, but the main ones that you see now, like the Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation, like the Sony, they weren't out at the time when I grew up. And I think the first consoles, the Master System, came out when it was kind of in my mid-teens. So before that, I generally played on things like Commodore 64, and what was the other one? We had another one where was like had a tape deck that you had to load the games on and stuff. But yeah, that was kind of fun growing up with my brother and my friends, where you'd wait for like 5 or 10 minutes for the game to actually load every time. It's crazy thinking about now, like where you can just instantly go into a game. How we did that. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this. We're going to get in trouble at work, but we're going to do that with a reason. A reason for a reason, as it were. We're going to let our reason come back, and then we're going to use it in there, because it's long past time before we got ourselves under reason. Okay, and then you are back, so we're going to keep on exploring with our health. No, it wasn't ZX Spectrum. It was. Oh, it was the Amiga. It was an Amiga. That's what it was. Ah, there we go. We have the Thesis Club. So that's nice, because that means that we can generate contentment a lot easier. So it makes this whole dread situation a little less daunting. It looks like the detective still hasn't shown up. My name just now is clear. Any guardians remain in the shadows. Okay. So now let's study our reasons. So we're gonna get 3 reasons, and then we're gonna go and get our. We're gonna go and get our talk verb then, and then that's kind of when things will kind of kick into a new gear. So what consoles did you have then growing up? Okay, and grab that. Yeah, so we win because we need to generate the funds anyway, but he won't be too happy with us. I remember when I got the Master System first, and all of my where we lived at the time, all the houses, like they were like terraces, but they were like 4 in a terrace, and then there was 4 on either side as well. And most of my friends in that area lived in those houses. So what we would do is, I think I had that at the time, and I don't think anybody else had a console. So all my friends would come over to my house, and then we'd have the controller there, and we would take turns. I think the game that came with it was Alex Kidd, who was supposed to be like their answer to Mario, but obviously he didn't do too well. But like the game was pretty fun, and we just take turns, play until you die, and we get stuck at one certain thing for ages, and then everybody would just go crazy when we got past that thing. We had Atari, Spectrum, Master System, Mega Drive, NES, then nothing until PlayStation. Basically everything since then. PS3 until PS3 and Xbox 360. Ah, okay. How about the Wii? Did you get into that at all? Because the Wii was, I had the Master System, and then I didn't get another console until the PS3, and I got the PS3 because my brother that I mentioned, my younger brother, he was really into playing FIFA, and FIFA was kind of our game where when he come over we'd play that together. And so when he lived at home, he had it before he moved out. He had a PS3, and we played it together. And then when he moved out, I got one, so that when he came up, then we could play together. But then after that, the last console I got, I think, was the original Wii. But that was more kind of for as a family kind of entertainment thing. So everybody would do like what was it? Was it Just Dance or whatever the name of the dancing one was? And then like the sports one that came with it as well. Yeah, it's kind of it was, in terms of enjoyment, I suppose it's very nostalgic to look back on it. It's something that I guess will probably not happen again, because everything's online now. So if you want to play with your friends, just jump online, right? Oh, Mario Brothers, yeah. My nieces, I think, had not Mario Brothers. They had like Mario Kart when they were growing up. So I played that with them a little bit. But the Mario Brothers thing, kind of, because I never really had any Nintendo stuff, was kind of, and the same with what's the one with Link in it? It's what's the I know the name of the game is the Princess, and not him. But like that kind of went over my head as well, because it's just not something that I have any kind of connection with. But I can kind of understand people's connection to that kind of stuff as well, having grown up with stuff like that. So we got our extra reason, and we got our scholar skill. So that means now that we need to get lesson learned to be able to get our third reason, but we've got to work on that pretty quickly. We're going to get an affliction out of that as well, so we're going to have to handle that. But yeah, I remember when I had the Amiga, and where I lived, like, it was small town beside the sea in Ireland, and I had to go into like the local town on the train to go and shop for games. And there was one game shop in the town that actually did those games, but it was yeah, no problem. Yeah, talk to you later then. You got automodded for saying radio. Yeah, I don't know how the mod stuff works with the chat, but yeah, enjoy your lurking. Yeah, I went to the local town, and the only place I could get games was like a books shop that had like sold games, but like I had like one of those spinny racks that you would kind of see postcards and stuff on, but it had games on it that would come in cassettes, and each time you turned it would be a different system. So there was only maybe like 20 games that would be available for a particular system, and on some of them it would be mix and match, so they wouldn't all be for the same system. But what it meant then was, when I was buying games, like at that time as well, I didn't have access to game magazines, so I didn't know which games are good and which games to avoid. So I just have to look. You'd look at the picture on the front, and then you turn it over and read the back. And back then, like, there was no the picture on the front had absolutely no bearing on what the game looked like inside. It was just kind of completely disparate. It's not like now where they have like the main character done in the style of the game on the front. It was just whatever looked good, whatever would catch the eye, would be on the front instead. And so then, like, I would get some absolute duds where I'd get home and play them, and I played them once, and then I think, not playing that again. But then I'd go back. So I'd do it maybe every few months. I get enough money together to be able to buy maybe one or two games, go back again, have to do the same thing again, and just kind of hopefully get lucky with the games that I got. But then, like, a lot of the titles, like some of the games I've never heard of again that I played back then, and they're kind of like they're not kind of ones where they were considered classics or anything like that. And some of them, like, I'd be looking for, I remember that game that I played on such and such a system, and trying to remember what the name of it was, and then going into Google and looking up of lists of games for a certain system that came out around that time, and like going down through the list and going, no, it wasn't any of those, because I don't think there really is a definitive record for back then, and a lot of the records that do exist they're more geared towards the US, and I suppose being the major, especially back then, being the major economy for games in terms of production and consumption, they kind of have a right to the way they approach things. But at the same time, a lot of the things there is just kind of assuming that America is the only place that exists almost, and the lists being, oh, here are the lists of all the games that come out for this system, but it's for this system in North America and not in Ireland or the UK or in Europe. Right, so we are getting through the work now. What we'll probably do now is actually go for the promotion and work, because we have our extra reason now that we're going to be able to use to get our third reason. And then for the promotion and work, then we can rotate the other two reasons. Yeah. Although we might actually need a fourth if we're going to get a talk verb as well. We'll have to see. Pop that over there. Okay. So we've got these two have to be, yeah, those two together. Then we get an extra one for that one, and yeah, then we study those two together and get the extra reason. And we still haven't found the ox house, so we should be doing that as well. I think about now is a good time to start dreaming with this stuff as well. Oh, we can't dream with that. Okay, yeah. I found somewhere unusual. There we go. There's the ox house. Okay. So now we have our two main kind of starting places that we can go to get books, or that can then be used for lore. And then once we've exhausted those two, it's really all about going on expeditions then. Right, so there, that. So we study one more. I'm not sure I think in the original, like this one here where you don't have a legacy, I think it's 555 is the limit. I know for other characters they have higher and lower of the different stats. I think for this one it's 555 across the board. So that dread is not an issue. Get back in there as well. See if we can find anything else. I'm tempted to get the talk verb now, but I'm going to leave that. I want to get this sorted first. Get those, and then use these two together. Okay, have a look at that as well. Okay, rest is there. So the dread might become an issue with two of them there, but at the moment it's not really. So funds kind of, it's only gone up a little bit since we started. We started with 11 funds and we're at 15. And when we get to the point where we're regularly going to Moreland's shop to build up our library, it's going to have a big impact on our funds. So we got to make sure that we kind of take account of that in order to be able to generate the funds that we need. But at the minute we've got no issues. We made a solid enough start to things. Generally, I haven't named our aspirant yet. Generally, I don't name them until I kind of have an idea of where we're going with things. Let's pause for a sec. Let's put you there. Now, so we can do that, and that will give us a third reason. Start that out. There's another restlessness. What we'll do is we'll dream these two together. I remember that I was different before, and that just because the contentment is going to go anyway. We got another one there, which is nice. But yeah, the thing with contentment is, even with the Thesis Club and the possibility of dreaming with opium, when you generate it, it's got a very short shelf life, so you can't kind of store it up. You've got to, generally as and when you need it, you've got to use it. So when I get an opportunity like that to proactively reduce dread, it's kind of a good idea, I think. So here we're going to go for passion, and then that will end up with us being promoted, and from that promotion then we're going to be able to earn three funds for every time that we work. But it does mean that every time that we start working, we've got to provide reason, and then you can actually you can get an ending to the game as well from that by I think it's just providing passion again. And I've done that one time before just to see what the ending is, but it's kind of you settle down into just a life of being like in Japan they call it a salaryman, where you're just working in an office for a salary and not really doing much else. But we got the occult calling us, so probably won't do that. Right, so start out with that. Yeah, so I think a couple of times doing that will allow us to get promoted again. So we're not going to be able to use that on that because yeah, it goes just as we have that available. Okay, so now we have 3 reason. We've got a glimmering there, but we're not going to use it for anything at the minute because we don't really need to get an extra passion. Getting an extra reason might be our next thing to do, and we'll probably start working on that actually. So it's kind of at the point now where getting to where we are with our stats is not that difficult. You just have to go through the motions and just keep on a certain thing. Oh, we shouldn't put you there. Just keep on a certain thing until you get it done, and take advantage of when you do get other ones by other circumstances. But now it's generating 3 lessons learned can be a bit difficult because of the timers. You're gonna kind of end up with a point where it's a little bit difficult to get 3 at the same time, because you might find that one is degrading while you're actually working on the third one. One of the other 2 is actually degrading. So what we might actually do is, so we've got lots of glimmerings turning up there. What we might actually do is go to the auction house and see if you can get certain books that can help you with stuff like that, where it's basically stored. Like if you study the book, you'll get a lesson learned for either passion or for reason. So we might do that. Depends. We'll see when we get to 2 lesson learned how much we're struggling with our timers. So there's a first erudition. It's done. Okay, another lovely glimmering. I feel like getting an extra passion is going to be a lot easier. But because it's going to be easier, we're probably going to leave that until I feel that there's a need to do it later on, and then we can do that pretty quickly. Because if we are studying, if we're studying passion and we are searching with this, or not with that, with this, then we're probably going to generate our glimmerings pretty quickly. So you're done. So now here we got 1 dread in there, which is not really an issue. It's not something that is a threat to us at the minute. We do have to keep an eye on it though, because it may become a threat. So grab that. Now, this guy has just under 3 minutes to go, which means that we can generate 2 more erudition before we need to put those 2 together. But that like 1.2 seconds difference that it has there of not being 3 minutes is very vital in terms of if it was let's say 181 seconds and I was good on my timings in terms of pausing and taking these out as they finish, then it would be possible to get 3 erudition before we'd have to combine that with something else. But now we've got to do it with just 2. So there's some fascination. Now, with the current situation, fascination, actually I was going to say fascination could be an issue, but it's not, because we have these 2 there. The doors of vision swing wide, a little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. Yeah, so that might have been an issue. You hadn't had that sitting there because you got your dread here, right? And then if the other one comes up looking for the fascination, you don't then have naturally occurring dread to be used to offset that. But it's generally when you've got to maybe like 2 of these, and you have maybe 2 restlessness sitting up here ready to degrade into a dread, and then you've got this going then with a fascination, that it can become an issue because you start focusing on, oh no, I've got to get rid of this one, and then you ignore that, and then it becomes an issue. But generally fascination is kind of hard to lose the game on, I feel. There was one time where, what was it? There was it the, what's the light one? There's one, the lightened or whatever ending where you're kind of, you're doing that. You've got to get a lot of fascination for that. That was one time where I did have an issue with that, because, but that was specifically because I was going out of my way to, wait, these two have to be done now. Yeah, I was going out of my way to generate fascination, and was going, anytime that I saw it in the mantis as well, I was getting that, and then I was doing this as well to generate it. So any avenue I had to be able to generate fascination, I was going down, and that's why then it became an issue, just because there was so much of it sitting around. Because with the what do they call it? Temptations, right? Yeah, with the temptations, you have to wait for it to go searching, which means that you've got to have whatever it's going to look for sitting around for it. So I generally was trying to get, one or two fascination with different timers sitting there so that it would pick it up. But then obviously then if the thing went looking for it, suddenly it's got two fascination there. You're probably working on generating at least one or maybe two more fascination as well, which is going to feed into it too, and then that's why you kind of get an issue with it. Right, let me have, my tea unfortunately is finished, so I'll have a drink of water here. So you're on the hunt. Right, so we got some contentment out of that. Visions pass me with pavane grace. A window over wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a woman of glass. I will return home with reluctance. Right, so we got you. We're gonna go and keep. Yeah, actually, let's go out with health. We let that one degrade a little bit because we don't need, as I said, we don't really need glimmerings at the minute from it, so just, we don't mind kind of letting that go. We can always get another one anyway. Right, so that's found some kind of henchman that we can hire. What is he? What did he this time? A shifty woman. No, thank you. Generally, I don't use them very often. There was, I think, one time when I used one, just kind of out of desperation. But yeah, generally I kind of avoid them. It is kind of interesting though, like there's just so many facets to this game that you can, like you've got this kind of core game here, and then you've got all of these kind of side things where you got like, well, not really side things because they're main parts of the game, but you've got like the hard people that you can get. You've got the summons as well that you can get from the rites, and but you can still happily play without really delving into any of those. Right, so you're done as well. So, oops, I moved my whole table there. Right, so I'll let you go. That one we're gonna have to remember to sort out. Grab that back. We'll go again with health. And then I think once we've done that, we're gonna go either to Moorlands or to the auction house. Because it would be a nice time to start getting ourselves some, yeah, just grab ourselves some more lore. Right, there we go. Reason. Lost my train of thought for a second there. There we go. Slot that. Keep on working. So this is a question for anyone, you know, if you're watching now, but also watching on, like, the VoDs are going to be up on YouTube as well. But are there any other games similar to this that you would recommend? Because I'm always on the lookout for games that are this well written. I've played so recently through kind of recommendations from people based on games like this. I played the Innsmouth Case, which is a Lovecraftian kind of choose your own adventure type thing. I'm also playing the Shredded Isle as well, which is a fairly well written kind of card game, nowhere near as complicated as this, but it still kind of has that kind of same vibe about it as well. And I also played something that I saw very explained, which was what's the name of it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. The one with the plague where you're in the town was kind of a it was along similar lines to choose your own adventure thing. The name was just escaping me right now. Let's see, you have, okay, so we can do one more erudition before we need to get stuck into you. Yeah, I'm always welcome for any recommendations that people have, because I find like a lot of these games kind of go under the radar a lot, where it's not. We were talking earlier about how like gaming used to be. So it used to be in the gaming community where you would maybe, like, there'd be gaming magazines and stuff where you might get the game magazine and they would have a review, or they would have like a demo of a game, and that's how you would discover new games, because there were some forums, but not really, not like there is today. And you didn't have, like, obviously social media or YouTube to help you find things otherwise. So it meant that your kind of the games that you played kind of depended on what magazine you were in, or what your friends are reading, or games that they had and they played and maybe you liked. So it was kind of a very different way of discovering games, whereas now it's a lot of the games I find are either, as I say, recommendations from people who watch my stuff, or by watching somebody else that I enjoy play. So like I watch people like Vertex, as I mentioned. I watch a lot of Zemolf, and I watch Damo as well. So they're kind of my three main people, and then through them they've kind of recommended or like done raids into other people that I've found as well. And then also, like, through, like, in YouTube there's the likes of Game Night, who are really, like, so I found like a lot of the kind of the turn-based tactics games, the likes of Mordheim and Necromunda, kind of through him, or that kind of side of things really, through him. But yeah, it's always kind of, I'm always interested in trying to find games that are similar to this that I could play, because as I said, there's so many games now, and it's so difficult, I feel at least, to discover them. Because if I go onto Steam I feel is very bad at recommending stuff, because Steam just wants to sell you stuff, right? So they just put any old crap in front of you, and there's no real way of telling, which one is, the next kind of Cultist Simulator for me, and which one is just a pile of crap that I'll regret spending my money on. Right, let's pop you to there and get working on that there. Oh no, because I said I was going to go to Moorlands, right? And what did I do? I didn't go to Moorlands. there for now, and we will go to Moorlands. So Moorlands generally costs, or well, not generally, Moorlands costs 1 funds every time you visit, and then it's a lottery. What kind of books did you get? A lot of them will be like unique lore books, but some of them will be the ones where they can give you a lesson there for passion or for reason. Whereas the auction house, obviously you got to bid for things, so you can be sometimes pay over the odds for things. But I like to, any book I can get in the game I like to get. It takes time to sort the gold from the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. Yeah, and that's what I do. I buy all the books I can, and then I get disappointed. I have I end up with a big stack of books, but then I get disappointed when I get to the end of books I can buy in Moorlands. And I've never actually tried, like Moorlands then, when she kind of closes down her shop, her premises then becomes a potential. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about before, where we're gonna work for this reason, right? But by the time we do that, this one will have just degraded. So we could get stuck in a loop here where we're not actually progressing to the 3 that we need. Okay, what did we get? We got Kittling Ripe and the Moldy Warp's Grave and other stories. Okay. A lusciously illustrated tome of loosely connected children's stories collected by one N.K. Field. Few of them are remotely suitable for children. Of course they're not, because I think I've discussed before as well that a lot of the original like fairy tales for children were like absolutely filthy. But then like the ones that people remember are the ones that are in the books now, or the ones that have been like completely sanitized by Disney, and those are the versions that people remember. But a lot of the original stories were just wow. Okay, we're gonna get another affliction there. So this one isn't in another language, it's in English, so we can study it as soon as we want to. We obviously want to do this first though. Yeah, so if you look here, what did we get there? We got Colour and Girth. Cooner and Girth, I cannot read that, but it's basically Greek grammar, an essential weapon for a ferocious struggle with a challenging language. It certainly is challenging. Auferlich Grammatik der Griechischen Sprach. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered that. But we put that over there, so when we get Greek books, we're going to be able to translate those. We're then going to head on back to Moorlands. We've got to be mindful of our funds, though. We don't want it to dip too far below double figures. Okay, and then we have our erudition there. So yeah, this is interesting because those two have to be combined now. So that's going to take 60 seconds to do that. Then you've got 231 left. It's got one. Okay, so we're going to be fine for this. We're going to end up with a 3 because 60 seconds to do that. Then it's going to be down to whatever 100 and something seconds. We then have 60 more seconds to generate another addition. We get that. We combine them up. And then we'll have our 3, we use up this, and then we get our 4th reason. But then after, you can see how the step after that is going to be a lot more difficult, because if we're struggling to if we're struggling to get just 3 of them, getting 4 of them is going to be really hard. So that's where Moorlands and the auction house come in. The War of the Roads, 1450 to 1580, censored edition. Willis Ford describes the War of the Roads, an event in a history other than our own, in detail, but numerous pages have been removed. The name of the publisher is blacked out. An ominous slip stapled to the cover explains that Willis Ford has been excised. Okay, let's grab those. So yeah, getting a nice collection here. That's another one that doesn't need translation, so pop that over there. Oops. Okay, so this will be the last book for a while, because as I said, we've got to watch our funds. Right, so now we are going to slot passion there. I now believe that you have properly understood the importance of our work here. This task will require your full attention. Well, we're going to give you passion instead of reason. See how you like that. It's a book which outlines a careful path through the thickets of a vast and complex language. Okay, Sanskrit reader. Okay, that's nice. So at the start of the game, you have access to books. Well, you have access to books in many languages, but generally you're going to get books in 4 different languages. So Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, and English. The English ones you don't need to translate. The other 3 you do, and then as you go further into the game, you're going to get more obscure languages that are harder to learn. So the kind of the starter ones, the Greek, Latin, and the Sanskrit, you can generally get books to help you learn those. You can also find people who will help you learn them as well, but they're not too bad to do. It's the later ones kind of take a bit more digging about to get, especially the ones towards the end where you're going to, like, if we look at the levels here of these places, when you're going to like the 4th or 5th level type places, then like the books that you get there are going to be in languages that you maybe got to summon. You got to summon a demon or some kind of spirit that's going to help you learn that language. Right, so we're not going to go back to Moorlands for a while. We're going to instead have a look around with our health. Oh, no. Right, so we have that there. We just found another kind of like, what would you call them, hard hand, hard gun or whatever, that we don't need. But we're getting pretty close to the point where we're going to get our extra reason in the next couple of minutes, and then once we have that, then we're going to get our talk verb, and things start changing a little bit from there. Because once we get the talk verb, then we start attracting people. We also start generating mystique, and then that's going to attract probably the detective, who will then start looking for evidence against us. And once you start generating notoriety, then that's going to become an issue. Right, we've got you there as well, but we've got nothing for you to find, which is good. We haven't actually had to use the club yet either, which generally I cause a lot of issues where I do have to find a club. So this one is getting to the point where it's going to degenerate, but we have you here, so we study those 2 together. When we're done, that's going to have like 47 seconds left, but then we're at the point where we combine all three anyway. But you could, again, you can see kind of where if we had to generate a fourth one, it's not really going to be possible just by studying, because when we go to try and get the fourth one, what will actually happen is we get an extra erudition, but then that degrades, and then we then have a choice to try and get another extra erudition even, or use the erudition that we got to bring that one back up. But then it's kind of a cascade effect where that one goes and then we make our choice one way or the other, but then the next time this one goes, and then the one that we just were about to get would go. And yeah, you can kind of get stuck in that loop where you need 4 and you have like 2.5, or you have like 3 or 3.5, and you keep going between those two, but you never quite reach 4. And that's where the books come in handy to help you with that, because a book is basically study it for the 60 seconds and you instantly get the next level one. So having 1 or 2 books for that really is helpful. Right, so we're gonna search with you again. Pop that up there. Okay, so we start generating glimmerings, which is good because we're about to finish working on our reason for the moment, which means that we can go for that 5th passion and just get this skill up to the highest, because I think the next one on this particular, like the basic character, I think the 5th level is the highest in each of them, and then that would be pretty good, because when we get more lore later and we're trying to combine them to higher levels, we're going to need those skills to be able to actually do that. So there's a glimmering for us. Pop you over there, everything's on. Okay, so we have that there. And slot those. So now the next time we get the opportunity, we're going to use our reason then to get our talk verb. So pop there. You're fine. Oops. Let's pop you in there. Oh wait, did I give it the right one? The work is complete when I have assessed the work as complete, and not before. I trust we understand each other. I'm going to give him passion. I'm safe for now. The meddler's attention must be elsewhere. A relief. Subtle fracture. Not really useful at the minute. Keep going with you. We should put you up there as well. Keep going with the work. Contentment. Do there. Like that. Right, so there we go. There's our 4th reason. So now we start studying passion. We're going to make use of. Where did it go? Oh, we've already on it. yeah, we're going to make use of that to generate extra glimmerings. And actually getting to our extra passion won't be that difficult, hopefully. Let's just use this with 4 lessons learned. Yeah, so getting 4 lessons learned, as I said, is kind of difficult, but with this at least we can generate glimmerings a lot faster than just doing it. If you've only got one source, it becomes almost impossible, but with 2 sources it's not too bad. There's some fascination. We'll slot that up there, and we'll get rid of it in a second as well. Let's pop you there. The doors of vision swing wide. Little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. We'll put you instead. Do that. And we're just waiting for the hook to come back. Okay, pop you in there. Okay, so glowing. So now this glimmering, those two need to be combined. I don't know, did we lose another one? We probably did. I wasn't paying enough attention, I guess. Pop you up there. But also, even oh, there we go. Is it there? We have to. Let's see, what can we put in there? Oh no, we can't do that yet. We've got to use you. Something, right? Yeah. Yeah, I thought we. Yeah, I'm misremembering things, obviously, because I thought we put reason in there and it would do it, but it's not. Okay. I think it might be that each character has different ways to access things. That might be what it is, possibly. Yeah, you're not what I thought you were then. You're just going to grab that. Okay, then, yeah, we've got to figure out, because that's what I was thinking, was that we'd be able to get a top rare from that, but we can't, so we've got to figure out how to get it then. There's another glimmering. Keep going with you. Oops. Yeah, give me a second. I'm gonna check something. Oh no, what I'm looking up is actually saying the same thing. Just have to see what's going on with that. For now though, we're gonna get some dreams going as well. Let's dream with some passion. And then we're gonna put in our lore. So at the moment we just got our forge lore. We can do that. So we may as well start working on stuff like that. And once, because when we get into the Mansus, we can start getting a lot of the lore in there as well, like the what is it called? We got one over here, the occult scraps. Oh, we had one over there, but we used it to find there. Yeah, we can get the occult scraps, which are going to help a lot. Let's start you there. So you got 140. Okay. So grab that. Goes there. You don't have to worry about those yet. So we can do that again. Go over there. Okay. Slot that there. Okay, some more contentment. So let's look for fascination, which is not a problem. We may dream those two together when that's done. Once again, I've determined that your work is of an acceptable standard. You may go. Be punctual tomorrow, please. There may be ways to deal with Mr. Alden. I'm sure there are. So 90, we're gonna have like 80 odd seconds left on that. Lovely regenerated dread, just what we needed. So what we're gonna do is we've got 2 dread here, and it makes sense to actually dream the younger dread rather than the older dread, because that has more chance of disappearing naturally. Put those 2 together. Yeah, you're done, so that's another glimmering. Now we can, so the oldest one has 85 left, which means that we can go again here. He's on the lookout, but there's nothing for him to find. You are done, like that. Then we got some contentment there. Go again. So again, he found nothing, or didn't, well, not just didn't find anything, but didn't even come to look, really. So we can go there. So next time then is combinations there. Okay, and then we got that guy there. So what we're going to be hoping is that when this is done, we're going to have to spend some time combining. So yeah, this is supposed to be where I can slot reason, but it doesn't work. Maybe there's another one that comes that just looks like it. That's probably, yeah, that's probably what it is. As I said, it's kind of, it's a very basic thing in the game, but I don't do it often at all, so just completely forget how it actually works. And then I know on some of the characters it actually works different. So if anybody watching there can remember how it works, let me know. Oh, is it when it goes there that I can? But that doesn't make sense, because it then takes that. No, it's not that. Okay, so let's stream with you. There was once a man who said that the sleep of reason produces monsters. Often it is healthy to let the mind wander in sleep. If I keep dreaming, sooner or later some sort of monster will rise from my own fears. Okay, so pop you back there, you up there. Get those. Start that, and it's not. Oops, where the hell did? Oh, it went back because I tried to throw it off the table. Oh, I'm not running. Okay. Work is done, but never done. Right, so I'm probably going to go for, I'd say, another 30 minutes. And then, yeah, we'll then continue again next week. So what I want to do is, I'm probably going to end up streaming twice a week. Once for this game and then for whatever kind of, once for this game and games like this in the future, and then another day for the turn-based tactics side of things. So I'm thinking that probably Rogue Tech, which is like a BattleTech super mod as it were, is what I'm going to do for that one, and that's probably going to be on Wednesdays. But yeah, what I want to do is I want to make sure that whatever I commit to in terms of streaming. So maybe it's you. I think it is you. No, it's not you. I know it's one of these things that pops up that we have to slot in, but it's not you. Okay, that's to do with, I think I got it one time where we actually had one of the characters was a lover of ours, but I don't think it ended very well. Which it never really does in these types of games, is it? They're not really happily ever after type things. But yeah, as I said, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I commit to streaming something that I'm comfortable in delivering and that I can deliver on a consistent basis, because I don't want to start something up and then have to miss a ton of streams or not be able to do it or get burnt out on it or anything like that. So I want to be reasonable with my commitments to it. And I think like starting out with one day a week and then building up to 2, and probably not going much beyond that, because there's a couple of reasons for that. One is because I've also got obviously got a life, some part of life that I need to maintain, but as well as that, I've got my YouTube channel that needs to be recorded for as well, so that kind of takes up that means certain days are out. I've also got my D&D group, which I am the DM for, that takes up so every month, once a month on Sunday mornings, because they're all in Japan. Anybody doesn't know, I up until last September I lived in Japan for 5 years. My wife was Japanese as well, but we moved here to Ireland as I said last September, but I'm still in that D&D group, so it means that I've got to, my Sunday morning is their Sunday afternoon to evening, and I DM for the group then. I kind of get up at like 4 in the morning to do it, but I don't mind that because I really enjoy D&D, and the guys are really into like the campaign that we're playing at the moment as well, so that's really cool. And then we also do a thing where, so we have like our main, we have our campaign where we do group sessions, but then we also do like individual sessions where I'm going to dream these two together, I think. Okay. The doors of vision swing wide. Little darkness will mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. Yeah, we also do individual sessions where, so we have like a group session, and then there will be like 2 or 3 days that pass in game before the next session is going to happen. And then each of the players, we do a one-on-one where they can explore their own stories in a bit more depth and build their character up. And then whatever they've done there, then they bring back to the group session, and then they can share what they want and don't want with the group. So some of the players will want to share everything and let everybody know what's going on. Other players will keep certain things kind of private to their character, and those things may not come out until some other point in the story for the group as well. And then we're also doing like because some of our players are moving house at the moment, it means that we can't have a session. Normally we have one session a month. We can't have a session this month. So instead what I'm doing is, some of my players that have already had their 2 individual sessions, we're doing sessions where we go back in time with the character and explore like what happened to the character before they actually came to the campaign as well. So it means then they can build more kind of like, make it actually what I would consider a real character, where like, you know, in a lot of like D&D campaigns, it might be that someone needs a contact for a certain thing, and so the DM will say, oh well, let's say you know this guy, and this guy can do XYZ for you. Whereas with this, it's kind of more like that the player will be able to say to me, oh, remember that guy that I met like whatever it was like 5 years ago, I'm gonna go see them and do something with them. Now we got some erudition there, which, so dusty facts have come clear in my brain for now at least. So that's not something we're going to use at the minute because we're not on a reason kick, so we're just going to let that go. But yeah, I think like D&D really kind of scratches a niche for me, because I've always been into like writing short stories, and I'm actually writing a book at the moment as well. I'm writing 2 books at the moment. One is like a kind of a kids, well, not like a kind of pre-adolescent, I guess you would call it, book, but kind of appeals to, like, there's really nothing wrong with adults reading it as well, or teens, but it's kind of set at the level where entry level would be kind of pre-teen, I guess. And then another one is kind of a grittier one, which is for kind of an older audience, so teens and up. But yeah, I'm doing that writing, and then I recently wrote for a video game as well. So I did like a lot of the main. It's kind of a, well, how would you describe it? It's a cross between something like Total War and a Elder Scrolls game, where you've got like you've got the whole big battles and controlling an army, and then the individual side of things where you're going on quests yourself to do things and stuff like that. So I wrote a lot of the main story for that. Like obviously the developers have their own writer who's part of their team, and then they asked me to write certain things for the main quest and then a lot of the side quests as well. And then I wrote a lot of things where they don't really have books in the game, they're more kind of notes that can be combined. Like you can read a certain number of notes and it will give the same effect of a book. Well, I've written a lot of the books that are going to appear in the game as well, so that was kind of fun to do. I'd love to do more of that in the future as well. Let's see, we would like to get rid of fascination, but we don't need to do it just yet. Let's keep going with you as well. You need reason, so let's pop that in there. But yeah, because I like doing that kind of stuff, so D&D really is my bag. Like, and I actually didn't get into it until fairly recently. Like, it was only when I lived in Japan that I got into playing it. I'd watched it a lot. I watched a lot of people playing it on YouTube, and I always wished that I could kind of be a part of that. And what happened was, no, you're the wrong one, because we need to use this one. Actually, we don't need to, because you've got 79 seconds, so we should actually do this and get the next one. Yeah. But yeah, what happened was the group that I play with, one of the guys that I worked with, like I was a teacher in Japan, one of the guys, oh, look at that, we got a glimmering. But that could come in handy for keeping one of these up and running. But yeah, let's put those in there. I worked with a guy who was in the group, and he said to me, like, we were just chatting about it. He was telling me about their current campaign and stuff, and how he's really into that. And then he mentioned to me that one or two of the guys were a bit flaky in the group that didn't turn up to every session. So he said he'd mention it to the DM that if they needed an extra player, like, I would be available kind of as an emergency fill-in. And so that's how, I think it was then 2 or 3 sessions later, I got to go. And they were doing the Tyranny of Dragons, so they're playing through one of the modules of that. And yeah, I think I brought up a barbarian, had a lot of fun playing, and was kind of like, because I'd watched a lot of D&D, I kind of understood a lot of the rules as well, so it wasn't that difficult to get to grips with things. And then so we did that campaign for like maybe about a year, I think, something like a year anyway. We're probably going to go back to Moorlands now because we're into double figures again. But yeah, we played that for maybe about a year, and then our DM then wanted to have a break from DMing, so one of our group took over DMing, Canadian guy, but then so he DM'd for maybe about 6 months, but during that time he had to, we got another glimmer. Oh yeah, that's the glimmering I studied for. Right, so now we need to start combining. So yeah, the guy had to go back to Canada because his son needed to graduate in Canada to go to university there. So he went back for a year, and then one night where we were playing, his internet crapped out, and it crapped out kind of at the start of the session before it really got going, so we couldn't just kind of call it. So he sent me a message then and said, can you take over DMing? So my first experience of being a D&D DM was basically like with no notice at all, like you're now the DM. So I took over the rest of the session. It went pretty well. Was really kind of bricking it, like shit in my pants, thinking how the hell am I going to do this? But it was fine. It went well. We had a pretty enjoyable night. Oh, there we go, collection of essays. So that's going to be coming really handy later when we go for our fifth reason. But yeah, that went super well, and then the next session he took over again. And then not too long later, then he said that he was finding it difficult because he was in Canada, and he had to get up super early to be able to DM, and he's finding it difficult to DM and handle the whole thing that was going on there. So he wanted to have then a break from DMing. So I did. Then I started a campaign, like a mini campaign that was supposed to just run until one of the main DMs decided, that they were ready to take over again, and that ran for maybe about maybe 4 months or so, probably 4 or 5 months, probably about like 8 to 10 sessions overall, and we finished that. And then we went back to the campaign we were playing, but we didn't go on for much longer because again, so by that time the guy had moved back to Japan, but he was he again kind of got to the point where he wanted to be a player rather than a DM. So then we started the campaign that we're playing now. So I started up because I'd moved back to Ireland, and we were having real difficulty in arranging when we were going to play. So I just said to the guys, listen, I'm going to do this campaign. It's going to be once a month. If people can make it, great. If people can't, well then that's fair enough as well. But the campaign will continue on. And I told them that they could use. So a lot of our campaigns actually went to 8th level, so the one that I did actually was like a kind of a real-time thing where they did a couple of days rather than it being over like months in game. So they started at 8th level and got to by the end got to I think halfway to 9th level or something like that, and then the other campaigns that we had were all 8th level characters as well. So I said to them that they could use any character from any of those that we played because I knew that there wouldn't be a problem with balance on them. One of the guys kind of misunderstood it a bit and made an 8th level character instead of picking one that you already had, but that was fine because I was able to work that into things anyway. But then from there we took it from there, and we've been having a ball with it so far. I'm really enjoying it. The guys are reading the story, and I kind of learned from my first experience, because my first one was set on an island where what I did was I had the whole island mapped out, and in each part of the island there were things or people that they could discover, like enemies and NPCs and etc. And what I did was I let them go wherever they wanted to within the island, and kind of gave them the odd kind of hook to see if they'll follow or not, but didn't try to railroad them too much. Because it was on an island, I knew there were only limited places they could go, and that worked pretty well. But then in this one we are on the Sword Coast, and they had everywhere, they can go anywhere they want really. So instead what I did was, instead of having like a main, instead of having like a main story where it's like, this is what the story is and you guys need to do XYZ. What I did was instead I had them all arrive in a town which was of my own invention. It was like up in the snow to the north, where it was kind of one of those towns where people just ended up there. They didn't, you wouldn't go out of your way to go and live there, to go and visit there. You just kind of ended up there, like kind of drifters. And so they all met up there, and then I just gave them, oh, this is happening and this is over there and this is there and blah blah blah. And then I discussed with each of them their own. Let's check Unite whether no, you're not the one for reason. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up in between sessions, find out what I do. It's gonna be something simple, and then at the start of the next, but the great thing is at the start of the next stream I'm going to be able to do it straight away, because it is going to be that simple. You're done. But yeah, I discussed with the guys what is your character's own goals, and then use those then to work into the story and let them kind of follow those, and then the main story is kind of organically growing from those. And there are a lot of different characters in it, a lot of different NPCs who have their own aims and their own goals as well. And if the players want to interact with them, they can. If they don't, then that's fine. But as I said, it's been a blast doing it. But let me read this now. Wrapped in the King, detailed accounts by James Colin Murphy of secret bacchanals and ecstatic dances observed in necropolises and graveyards in southern Europe, in Egypt and in Anatolia. The author is self-confessed ghoul and eater of buried flesh. He claims to have witnessed the dances while at his feasting. That's one thing I've mentioned before. I wish when you click on that this thing wouldn't close, because there's an X there already. So if I want to close it, I know where the X is. I can do that. Hang on. What about this though? No, not a possible. I'm going to study that and see if that is what I need to do, because I probably should have done that at the start. Right. So here we have these glimmerings. So we got you there and you there. Okay. So we're going to do that. So yeah, we're kind of in the position now that I talked about before, where we're going to do that, and then this one is going to degrade because it's at 53, and then so we're going to have to do that one, and these two are going to be fine though. But it's going to be close for getting all four, and certainly if we hadn't had the extra glimmerings from here, it wouldn't have worked out at all. Right, so that's found a hard hand. You found a different type of hand. But it's been nice to do my first stream. I'm very appreciative to those who came along to lurk and to watch, and especially to the Super Ginge for chatting for a while. It's always nice to have someone there to kind of chat away with, and I'm sure over time we'll get a few more people coming. But I don't mind. Like I've been making videos and making content for a long time, so I'm kind of used to talking to myself. And anyone who's done it, who's had to do it, especially for YouTube content where there isn't that chat box there to have any kind of interaction with, will tell you that it's really weird when you start. It just feels so unnatural not to have like someone to hold the other end of the conversation up, and it really does take a while to learn how to do it, and it's basically the kind of thing where it's just practice. I think with the streaming as well, it's just going to be practicing how to do it. I was panicking a little bit before we started, just on the whole thing. Oh, what if I get some asshole in the stream who's like, who's being abusive or whatever, like, and I don't even know how do I ban someone and all that kind of thing, like. But thankfully that didn't happen. We got some nice people to come along instead. So we got some vitality here. My own heart pumps more strongly today, so that is not something we're going to use unless we get an affliction that needs to be taken care of. We are going to search again though, because if we're gonna stay on top of these, we're gonna need to get an extra glimmering from somewhere. Okay, and you're done. Pop you there. Again, we found another. Okay, one of those. We got another glimmering. Right, so we can combine those two. When we combine those two, then that one will have like 54 seconds or so left. We're going to have all four. We're then going to be able to use our skill, get up to the highest level, and that's probably going to be. I think it's a nice place to maybe end the stream, where we're going to have our passion to. I believe it's the highest level that you can get on this one. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 555 across the board. Now you can obviously manipulate that through summons and rights and things like that. But I think the base one when you start out is 5 across the board. And then for next stream, the goals are going to be, one, when we start out, get the talk verb, and do that pretty much instantly. 2 is going to be, we're going to start working more on our job and getting ourselves a promotion there, so that we get to the point where we're getting 3 funds every time, because what that means then is those extra funds will be enough to allow us to go back to Moorlands and to exhaust Moorlands and to exhaust the auction house as well. And we're then going to have plenty of books that we're going to be able to study. Through the study, then we're going to get more lore, and we're going to have, as I said, our talk verb. With the lore and the talk verb, we're going to attract people, including people who are acquaintances who can become members of the cult, and also there are other people in the game as well who you can ask for favors from, or you can do work for, and that kind of thing as well. Right, so let's pop you in there. Oh, hang on. We need something more, right? I'm pretty sure it's not going to let me. I'm pretty sure we need something more. Right? Yeah. So I think we need, like, is it 4th or 6th level lore or something? Don't think that's going to work. No. Yeah, we need higher level lore. I never even thought about that. So what we're going to have to do is kind of go on a holder pattern with those and start studying these, I think. Yeah. Right, so we're going to start our... Let's see, what kind of lore though? That's going to give Grail, right? It's either Heart or Grail from that one. Well, we're probably going to study it anyway. Yeah, so I'm going to have to do... That's going to be annoying now. I'm going to have to do a holding pattern with those, just keeping the glimmerings going, or else just abandon it and come back to it later. But I don't really want to do that. Yeah, because I think you either need 4th or 6th level lore, and it is a certain type of lore as well for each one. I think you have choices, but I don't think it's all lore will work for all of them. Yes, again, it's one of those things where you don't do it all often, so you completely forget about it, right? But I think what we'll do is we'll decide next time what it is that we're going to study, because that might be important, because we might need to just keep studying Passion until we sort it out, and then switch to the books once we kind of know whether we're going to go for it or whether we're going to leave it and then come back to it. Because one thing is, when we get more books, we're going to end up with probably 2 or 3 of the essays like this one, except for Passion, so it's going to be a lot easier to get up there anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream there, so I hope you have enjoyed. I've certainly really enjoyed doing my first stream. I'm going to be back again next Monday at 6 o'clock. I guess it's 6 UTC or GMT. I think it's a couple of weeks before it changes to BST, and then the timings kind of go off a little bit. But for now, yeah, next Monday again at 6, going to stream for another 3 hours. Also on my channel, I have lots of episodes of Cultist Simulator that are for different playthroughs. So I've got the priest one going at the moment, and I've had one with the, what one did I do before? I did the one with the where you get the inheritance. We did that one. We did a light victory. We did a forge victory, I believe. And we had a go at the Exile, which I mentioned before that I didn't really like. But those are all on there. There's plenty more kind of story heavy stuff on there as well. There's lots of turn-based tactics there too, if that's your bag as well, so maybe go check on that too. But as I said, I'll be back next week, so thank you all for watching, and I will see you again soon, hopefully.